The national left-wing media lying through its teeth today. There's no other way to put it. They were trying to claim that President Trump's comments referring to MS-13 gang members as animals was directed at all immigrants. Now, Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders turned the tables on this liberal smear campaign at today's briefing.
The president was very clearly referring to MS-13 gang members who enter the country illegally and whose deportations are hamstrung by our laws. This is one of the most vicious and deadly gangs that operates by the motto of rape, control, and kill. If the media and liberals want to defend MS-13, they're more than welcome to. Frankly, I don't think the term that the president used was strong enough.
Joining me now is Congressman Keith Rothfus. He serves on both the Judiciary and Financial Services Committees. We'll talk about the Russia investigation moment. But first, we have to talk about this, Congressman, because, you know, I'm reading a piece from Vox, VOX. It's a website that a lot of newspapers and magazines and television stations get their talking points from. They're the ones that really seem to put this out, saying it's not clear whom the president was referring to when he mentioned animals, whether he was simply picking up on Sheriff Mims' reference to MS-13 or referring to deportees more broadly. I saw the entire roundtable discussion yesterday. It was absolutely clear that the president was picking up on a reference to MS-13 members. I mean, this is just a smear.
You know, context is everything. You know, and I saw the initial headline come across, and as a grandson of immigrants, I'd be upset with what was purported to be said. But when you look at the context and he's talking about MS-13, these are barbaric organizations. And I think this gives us an opportunity actually to focus on MS-13, to see what this gang has been all about. They've been around for years, and not enough attention has been pointed out to them. The administration is very determined to go after MS-13. And it's not just MS-13. You look at the cartels and what they've been doing in Mexico. MS-13 is coming out of El Salvador, but you look at the slaughter on the southern side of the Mexican border. Every week I'm seeing stories of either Catholic priests or journalists being murdered by these cartels, and these are issues that the United States needs to be working on determination in a determined way with Mexico, with Latin American countries to go after these organizations.
And what was happening yesterday was a roundtable discussion with Californians who were siding with the president against the governor who's created this sanctuary state, because the violence that you spoke of happening in Salvador, all over Central America and now Mexico, is cascading into the United States as a result of the sanctuary state law. And that's what these people were complaining about. They're desperate for help. And the word, I think, is also getting out to Californians who more and more. There was just a town in Los Angeles County that is joining this federal lawsuit against the sanctuary state.
Well, you just have to look at this case of Kate Steinle. We've had case after case across the country where people have been victims. And so we have to be very determined and go after individuals who commit these kind of crimes.
DACA. Let me just ask about that, because some people are complaining that the rhinos are at work inside the Beltway, trying to come to some kind of compromise on DACA. What's the very latest on that?
Well, the compromise is the bill that we put together that I'm co-sponsoring with Chairman Goodlatte, Chairman McCall. We're tying border security in with a solution for the DACA situation, making sure that kids who came here as a 5-year-old, for example, it's the only country they know, we're going to give them a legal status, but we're going to secure the border at the same time, because we want to make sure that we're not having the same problem in 20 years. And it's very important for people to take a look at this good piece of legislation.
All right. I want to move on to the Mueller investigation, because you being on the Judiciary Committee, it's something that you know a lot about. First of all, the extraordinary news that there was essentially a spy that was set up within the Trump campaign itself. I've never heard of anything like that done in a presidential election, particularly on a candidate who actually won the presidency. What is your thinking about all this?
Well, fact after fact seems to keep trickling out. It's been very frustrating trying to get information out of the FBI, out of the Department of Justice. They redact things that don't need to be redacted. We had this issue with the House Intelligence Committee's report. They finally unredacted things, and they were redacting things that didn't make them look too good. And it's very frustrating as you conduct oversight to not have these agencies be as forthcoming as they should be. I spoke at a police academy graduation last Saturday. I talked about how important the rule of law is in our country, and I made the point that we have these police officers go out and defend the law for us. But I said to them, you also are subject to the rule of law. That's a principle on which this country is founded. So
well, it is. Unfortunately, a lot of the agents, the FBI agents on the street and law enforcement have to rely on the higher ups, who are very often political appointees. Like, for example, Rod Rosenstein, who was the one that created the Mueller investigation itself. Right now, we have a judge who has been able to look at, and he's probably looking at it as we speak, the scope memo. That is the memo that Rosenstein wrote for Mr. Mueller that defines what he is supposed to do. This judge thinks he's gone way beyond that scope. When are we going to be able to see the scope memo, if at all?
We should see the scope, and this was an issue a year ago as they launched the investigation. I was curious as to what the scope would be. For example, was it going to be look at all of Russian attempts to interfere with the election? Were they going to be, talking with folks affiliated with the Clinton campaign? Now we know all about the Steele dossier, but every week we seem to have a new set of facts, and when you take a look at the different players in here, the whole Lisa Page, Peter Strzok affair, exchanging tens of thousands of texts.
I know.
It's just mind-boggling.
It is. All right, we are going to have an Inspector General's report released relatively soon, at least about part of all these investigations. We are hearing from some that there may be criminal referrals or notice of criminal violations. I don't think the IG can refer a criminal case, but at least he can suggest that there have been criminal violations. We haven't been able to confirm that at Fox Business or Fox News. Do you know anything about that, about whether there will be criminal violations in the IG report?
Well, I have no information at this point. We just take a look at the IG report on Andy McCabe and how he was found not to have been forthcoming and truthful. And so these are very troubling allegations that were made or statements that were made in the IG report regarding Andy McCabe. And so we'll have to see what the IG is going to report on these other matters.
Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing that report. Congressman, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Good to be with you tonight.
Appreciate it. Keith Rothfus.